I was an amateur.
I didn't always hit it as far as I do today.
And just like you, I was constantly trying to improve.
I chose Titleist then
For the same reasons I do now.
The new Pro V1 and Pro V1X. Choose the best for your game.
As always, Jordan, great to have you back. Somebody said that they should make you an honorary Australian for the amount of times that you've come here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that have come to Australia more than me, but I don't know if there's many people who have enjoyed being in Australia as much as I have. Yeah, this week's a little shorter week than the past couple years. Really got the full experience, got to do a lot of stuff outside the golf course in the past, and with the tournament next week and also a wedding last weekend, it kind of shortened this week for me. But yes. So I'm spending just as much time at the golf course and maybe a little bit less outside, but I love coming to Sydney.
We heard that both you and your caddy don't have your partners with you, so it's golf, golf, and more golf this week.
That's
is
right.
It?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I've got my instructor Cameron McCormick caddying this week. Michael is just had his first son. Yep. And so he's at home with the baby, and he's taken off these 2 weeks, and it'll be a good experience for myself and Cameron to kind of get some on-course reps, and how I'm talking, how the swing holds up. It'll be, I think, really good for us going forward. So Michael's really upset not to be here. He's been texting me daily, asking for pictures. Sent a picture with myself and Barry today in the Pro-Am, because we played with Barry 3 years in a row, and kind of giving him some crap, and he's returned back to us. So, but certainly he's where he needs to be right now.
We were just speaking to Jason down. It was very interesting. He was speaking of you and saying to keep at this top level and to play at this top level. There's so much with your nutrition, with blood tests to see. Everybody's trying to look for that just a little bit of an extra edge. And he said that you were in this program as well. Can you talk us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've spent a bit of time of it this off season. Each year I lose 10 to 15 pounds throughout the year, and I'm trying to figure out a way to kind of sustain weight so that, and it's not that big of a deal, but if your body changes, the likelihood of your swing changing a bit goes up versus if you can maintain kind of the same body structure. So I've done some blood testing, I've done some body testing, and built kind of a nutrition plan to try and put on some weight this off season, some good weight. I've done an average job of it. I'm trying. It's hard to eat as much as I need to eat, which I don't get any remorse from people that I talk to about it. But I'm in the opposite of what most people are trying to do. But it's the same kind of situation where I'm trying to get the right. Yeah, I mean, I know Jason's been on that for a while. Rory's been on that for a while. These guys that have taken that to a new level in the way that they're and there's a lot of Henrik Stenson, another one who has shakes a lot of time on the course, just trying to maintain strength throughout a pretty difficult season each year. Now, I mean, if you're competing a lot, it's mentally draining, which then makes it physically draining as well. Yeah. And so I'm just trying to work a little bit on it. I'm not really too crazy about it, but I'm not turning off burgers and beer, but I'm just trying to get enough of the right stuff.
And what kind of shape is your golf in coming here? Are you very confident?
I'm not sure yet. Yeah, I feel pretty good. Not much was changed over the off season. My ball striking was phenomenal last year. It's the best that I've ever struck the ball for an entire season. Trying to improve just a little bit on my driving accuracy and a little bit on the greens. From 4 to 15 feet, I just didn't make as many as I had the previous 2 years. So just some emphasis on some putting work. But I took a lot of time off, so I rested a lot and started to gear it up as we get into this week.
Okay, questions from the floor, please.
Yeah, Jordan, we know you love Sydney and sightseeing and whatnot. Golf-wise, what's the motivating factor for continually coming back to the Australian Open when a lot of other players aren't? You're obviously well looked after as well, but just what do you get out of this tournament?
Well,
season up.
2014, I saw what it did after 2014, to be able to travel across the globe and see that your game travels, and then to get to a kind of a world-class field at this point in the year where I can give myself an off season after the President's or Ryder Cup. to give myself a true rest time and then be able to play in a world-class event at a world-class venue, which we've done the last 3 years. Gives me that break, but then that competition to kind of figure out anything that I worked on in that 6-week period. It's kind of I say trial and error. It's kind of seeing where things are at to make then more adjustments as we get into the rest of the season. So it's a great time of the year for me to gear things back up, and a fantastic event that I've had success at, and I've seen it propel into the next season. Anytime you can travel, to a different country, say, because within the States, the longest I ever travel is 3 hours. So to go any more than that and to have success, I can look at it last year and say, hey, I traveled to the Open Championship, and I felt comfortable traveling across the pond just a little bit more because I had done it a few more times. So it actually certainly, I think, benefits in that case too.
Next question.
You mentioned Michael's not here, Cam's taking the job. You and Michael have probably one of the most back and forth relationships on tour in terms of before pulling the trigger on a shot. How will that change with Cam, and how different a feeling is it not having Michael here?
Yeah, Cam's more of just shut up and hit it. Quit taking so long. He's more, reaction, pick the club. I'm not sure yet. It'll be fun. It'll be fun talking through clubs with him. Cam has the highest golf IQ of anybody I've ever talked to. I've learned so much from him over the last 10 years, 11 years. And so to be able to kind of have him helping make those decisions is going to be really cool too. So I'm very much looking forward to it. The last time Cameron caddied for me was a rough go at the Chambers Bay U.S. Amateur. It was a tough go for us. So we have a little bit of redemption.
Next question.
Take care of.
Jordan, apart from Barry, you had a reasonably famous Pro-Am partner today. How was his game, and he quite an Australian fan in the Ashes?
Yeah, Ricky he was awesome. It was what an honor. I've been able to kind of watch a bit of cricket after traveling to the UK and to hear it's never anywhere in the States, and so to know that there's a sport like that I would really enjoy, being a lover of baseball and golf, and kind of especially baseball, it's got a bit of it in it. I would have really enjoyed probably playing it growing up, and it just amazes me that such a world sport hasn't made its way at all into very little into the U.S. I know there's been some veteran matches that have gone on here or there the last couple of years, but I understand Ricky's history and how important and how successful he was for his country as a captain, and what a class act he was on and off the pitch, and it was fantastic getting to play with him. His golf game, he's a scratch player. We had to play in rain most of the day, which is just difficult in general. And you could see him kind of getting frustrated early in the round. He wasn't hitting it his best, and a couple club slips. He was walking his own bag, so it's nice to have a caddy in the rain, cleaning the grips, making sure you're dry. And but boy, he has a really solid game. He can bomb it. Really nice putting stroke. You can tell he's a scratch player just by when he sets over it and hits like one shot. And so he and I took on the other two, Dave and Barry, and we ended up tying the match. We had a really nice comeback on the back nine.
Two-part question with Jason Day. Obviously, you two are the marquee pairings. He hasn't had a win this year. Do you expect him to bounce back pretty quickly? And second, he spoke about the desire to get back to world number one, and he'd obviously be fighting you for that title sooner rather than later, I guess. Your battles with him over the years.
Yeah, so Jason's in form. He made some changes, right? He took Cole and kind of changed, took Cole off the bag and kept him as an instructor. That was a major shift and something that takes significant adjustment to have kind of trust coming down the stretch. And he's been in form the second half of the year and as of late. And the Byron Nelson, he almost won this year, which he's had tremendous success at that tournament. So I would expect him. Yeah, guys, the best players in history go through a bit of time without being able to win, even though they're still playing good golf. So they'll come. I don't think he's worried about it. I mean, not that I should worry about it, but I just believe that it's going to happen with what a world-class player he is. And we've had some great battles, yes. 2015 season was a lot of fun. I mean, it was just anytime I throw something one week, I think I have an advantage on him maybe for Player of the Year race. Like I think I have it locked up the first half of the season, and all of a sudden it goes to the last tournament essentially, which I'm like, man, I don't think I could have played any better for a year and still needed the last tournament to win that. So it was a lot of fun. Competing at the Open Championship, well, really the U.S. Open, the Open, the year's last three majors, and the PGA, where we both had a chance to win come Sunday, and that's rare to have a few times in a row, especially with two people having a chance. And it's just and honestly, it's fun then because you kind of can talk about it with each other, how you were feeling, the respect you have for each other's games and seasons, and we've been a part of a couple different Q&As and conversations with each other like we were last night. It's really fun to kind of, and he has such nice things to say, which is awesome, and myself in return to him, the utmost respect.
Next question.
The rain might have affected the golf course a little bit today. How did it look compared to your previous experiences here?
Yeah, quite a bit different. I would look for lower scores if it for the first couple days, and less and until the wind comes out and the sun comes out to dry it up. But I'd imagine that scores are going to be pretty low to start this tournament, and then it'll back up just a little bit on the weekend. It kind of seems the case. My last round in 2014 was a bit of a fluke to that, to what I'm saying. But for the most part, on this golf course, it yields lower scores early, and that 9, 10 under early, and then 12 under ends up being the winning score. So stay patient with this golf course. Even if you don't get off to a good start, you can make up ground.
Rod, you're next.
Jordan, been quite a bit of chatter the last couple of days about the ball going too far. Have you seen or heard about any of that? And what are your thoughts on the great distance debate that always seems to simmer in this game?
The ball going too far?
Too far, yeah. For the elite players in particular.
Oh, not here specifically, but
no, here at this golf course, the ball in general.
Yeah, because I didn't hit it very far today in that rain. I haven't seen any of it. So I'm not one of the longer hitters. I'm a little bit above average in length off the tee, and so I have to find a way to make up ground for other guys who maybe drive the ball better and are in a better position consistently. That's kind of the way it's always been, though, within the game of golf. And I think the most difficult part is, right now you've stretched some classic golf courses out to kind of the maximum distance that they're capable of having. They back up to roads on some holes and stuff like that on some of the great classic golf courses, and you just wonder where it'll be in 10 years, I guess. So I think if we keep it around where it is now, I think the game's been pretty exciting the last few years. I mean, it has been for me, obviously, being a part of it, but I feel like to the fan base, it's been a pretty exciting few seasons going back quite a ways that I don't know if major changes are necessary, but maybe staying where it is now to prevent from kind of having to make all kinds of golf course changes in the future.
Jordan, you've really become known as a great finisher, and I suppose last year here was a good example. You weren't playing at your best, I don't think, on the final day, but you got the job done. The same at the Open Championship to a certain extent this year, really found a way to get the job done. What is it about the psyche of Jordan Spieth that allows that to happen?
Well, the Open, I think there were two totally different situations. Here, I made a couple putts late. That was actually similar to the Open, the making a couple putts late that when I was kind of struggling with the putter. But it was a new golf course. I was trying to adjust last year here, and when I got into that playoff, it was okay. Just give me a putt. Just give me a putt at it. And I was working on some things in the swing, some significant moves. So it wasn't I wasn't quite at full trust with them last year at this event. Versus the Open was totally different because I was running into major mind games. I was running into trying to win a major when the last major that's talked about that includes myself was the 16 Masters, and trying to get over that by by closing out an event, by closing out a major, which winning one major is incredible in a career. So to just win another major to get over it, it's cool thinking that way, even though it has its negative plays too. And I went through that first part of that tournament, and you can't help but having your mind wonder, how is this going to affect the next year? Am I going to be questioned about this, and my ability to close in big events again, even though I shouldn't have been questioned in the first place by a couple bad swings. I felt that, and I got into thinking, that comes into play in my mind, and I was almost so angry at the way that year went after that Masters, the constant questioning, even though I had a pretty successful season, that I just refused to go through it again. I just said, well, I'm going to do everything in my willpower. Don't care about how I'm hitting it, how I'm putting it. Just do not allow yourself to lose this event, and was able to pull off the shots necessary.
Nicole?
Jordan, that last round of yours here in 2014, it really has kind of legendary status in Australian golf now. People always talk about it. Do you still use it as a touchstone? Do you still draw on that in some way in certain situations, or
just in memory? I haven't drawn on it in a couple years on actual, what I was thinking and how we went about the process. Just more on memory, on kind of how big that was for me in my career. It really was a huge day for me. I didn't obviously know it at the time. I knew it was a big day for a second professional win, but I didn't know what it would springboard mentally for me into the next season, that ability to close. And now it's easier to draw back on more recent memories. So it all goes into that bank, though. It all goes into the memory bank, and then you can always pick and choose what you want out of it, different situations.
Justin?
Jordan, up the back here. Based on what happened at the President's Cup, American golf's in a pretty good spot at the moment. Guess I'll just discuss how you guys are all sort of the same age group. They've sort of caught up to your accomplishments, and you may be pushing each other along, with Justin being the best example of that, I guess.
Yeah, it was a great week for our team's psyche, going forward in these team events. We all thought going in, boy, this is a really exciting team. But until you go out and execute together, start to figure out who meshes well together, and then you're not exactly sure. And we came out of it saying, this is going to be a fun ride the next 15 years, 20 years potentially, with a lot of the same faces growing together, and younger players getting better and better. There were a number of phenomenal golfers that are our age that weren't on that team too, that will be very soon. So it was a great mix of that young talent with a few veterans that really knew how to relate and kind of give experience without having to experience to some guys. And that was huge in getting started successfully.
Last questions, please.
Well, two-part question, and I don't really want to get away from this week, but on the back of that, the President's Cup is in Australia in 2 years' time. Firstly, would you encourage your US teammates to come here and play in 2018 to perhaps do some reconnaissance? And secondly, you obviously spent time with Tiger Woods at the President's Cup this year, and he's playing next week, and you'll be there. What are your thoughts on where his game is at?
I have no idea where his game's at. Because the last time I spent time with him, he wasn't even hitting full swings yet, but he was confident about his ability to. He was confident coming off of this last surgery to get back into it and to be able to have the time necessary and strength to practice as much injury free as possible. I would certainly encourage players to come play next year and right before it in 19 when we're over there. So. It can only help in my mind, and they're going to love it. The guys still talk about the last President's Cup in Melbourne, the veterans, just how great of a time it was. It was, if they, Phil's played on 22 events, and that may have been his favorite, other than winning Ryder Cup team, just because that's been harder to do. That experience is up there at the top for guys, and so they've voiced that to us, and I think there's kind of a ground. Guys are really excited that we're coming back.
Last question, Mark, please.
You've always been an emotional player. You've done some amazing celebrations this year. The bunker with Michael and go get that. What was the feedback to that, and can you posterise Cam this week with something special?
I think if I did the chest bump to Cam, he'd go flying. Michael's got a little more stable base than Cam does. Yeah, they're just natural. You know, it wasn't thought out. The bunker shot, as you can expect, was unexpected, and therefore, when it actually dropped, you know, it was to win a golf tournament, and that's even the one at the John Deere was to maybe get into a playoff, and that one was to actually win in a playoff, which is just, you know, I didn't know if I'd ever have something like that happen. So you just kind of react accordingly. And in that scene at Hartford there behind, it's an amphitheater scene where, I mean, it was like a football stadium around you, and that's unique too. And so just the noise from it going in just psychs you up even more. So I don't know what came out of it, but ended up being pretty cool, the celebration. And then the go get that was the ball was just really far away, and the tee box was the opposite direction. The hole was far away. So, and Michael was standing over there, so I thought, and for whatever reason, I'd watched in the gym that week. There's a temporary gym that's put up that the RNA does, a really good gym in a tent. And there's TVs in it, and they're always playing old replays of Open Championships. And guys used to never get their own ball out of the hole. And so I think I just was in my subconscious. It just on watching these replays out of the corner of my eye while being in the gym that week. And, you know, when they were far away or chipped in or whatever, their caddy ended up just grabbing the ball out of the hole and walking off. And we never do that anymore. And I think that just kind of, for whatever reason, was in the back of my mind and thought, I'm going to walk this way. You can go get that ball. But I had to tell him because he didn't know what I was, you know, he didn't know what I was saying. He started laughing when it went in. I'm like, stop laughing, pick that up. Let's go to the next hole. So that's what came out of it. There were some T-shirts made and stuff. I don't know. It was cool.